Okay, my friends, this is a freaking mind blower. This is another Roger ramble. I come out here and I start saying, wow, look at this. Just imagine this is a membrane, which it is. This is what they call reactive oxygen. Same up here. And catalase is an enzyme created in this layer, which is this interstitium. And in this interstitium is the no man's land. You cannot come from the skin, which this is, through there to the body to damage it. So I'm blah, 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 on and on and on. I get all done, so I'm watching it, and I'm thinking to myself, boy, this is unusual. Let me look at how much oxygen. Why is this so much fuzzier than up here? This is where the bubbles are accumulating. So these are tiny bubbles, tiny, tiny, tiny. They're getting over to here. No. So I said, well, what else is going on in here? So I start watching real careful, because that's what I do, is watch real careful. And here's what I saw. Border, that's the no man's land. Don't you dare come through here. We're going to whack you. Now, so then I decide, well, why is there so much catalase? Well, I'm going to just turn that off because that guy's boring. Here's what happened. I decided, why is there so much catalase? And I'm watching, I'm looking, I'm seeing these little white things down here. I said, what the hell's going on there? And then all of a sudden they start looking like they're in distress. Watch this. Just keep your eye out. All of a sudden, I'm seeing these white things start showing up, and look at them they're in distress now. They're not just rolling around there by accident. Watch, one of them goes up and shoots over this way, another one goes up and attaches and looks like it's getting beaten up. That one goes shooting down over to the right. Watch these little particles. And I'm saying, why are they doing this? Look, now they're really getting into distress. Boom, they're shooting way up here and way up here and way up here. And they go flying across the screen like they're scared of something. Look at that one. Why are they doing this? Are they becoming totally overcome by the catalase? Or are they being weaponized? Okay, there is the microscope. We're looking down into a big patch of blood here. And we'll be able to see a bunch of little blood vessels and some surrounding fascia. Now, here it is up in the microscope. Now, let me turn the lights off. And let me turn the scope light on. And let me put a little hydrogen peroxide in here. Let's see what happens. Now, look at what's happening. Watch. Watch that. That is all blood going to the, hold on a second, let me focus this in. All right, let me come down a little closer. It takes a few minutes, well, not a few minutes, but a minute or so for it to start soaking in and start exuding the bubbles. You see right there? That's the layer we're going to be looking at. You see all those little white bubbles? Now watch, when I slurp it up real good, we should see a lot more of them show up. All right, keep your eye on it. Now, the real flashy looking white stuff is the camera, lights. Now, you see over here? This is the key. That's the fascia. The most edge between you and the rest of the world. And that's where you're going to have all these enzymes boiling up. You see them boiling up out there? That's literally boiling oxygen out. And I'm serious. You see it? That's that layer between your body where you have blood and all that good stuff and the outside membrane, which is basically, in this case, skin. And then you have that layer, which is the interstitial. Well, this is where it gets a little tricky. This is the place where it has the black balls and the straps and all that down underneath. And then down here, you have a bottom layer. Up here is the layer between where your skin goes out and it enters into your bloody, tissuey, floppy area so that you can goo around. But this right here, that's the interface. Now, we know we can see extraordinary amounts of oxygen bubbling out of here. All right, so I don't think there's any question what we're looking at right there. And we can see the difference in physical look of the thing. You see it? You see all around the edges? It's not just an accident that it's there the way it is. You can see all the black balls and everything. You can see the little straps. Now, that's your immune system right there. You're looking at your immune system. Now, here's what happened to these guys in where they got toxified, which is these burn pit victims. We can help them. I know we can help them. Because what happens is all of this stuff is on your skin, and it invades you. It tries to kill the bacteria that's literally living down in these areas. You see, look at this. Isn't this something? That's that section right there that is your interstitium and where all your floppy stuff is. And this is the border, that's the no man's land. Don't you dare come through here. We're going to whack you. Now, so then I decide, well, why is there so much catalase? It's everywhere, 100%. Every single membrane has this same effect in my mud fossils, and they all still have it. So I said, well, maybe the oxygen itself is fighting the invaders. And there is such a thing as called reactive oxygen species. And I believe that's this right there. And this gets created in a response to invasion. Now, is it created on site when that happens by the enzyme? The enzyme is what creates it. So how does the enzyme get activated? We put H2O2, which is hydrogen peroxide, on here, which just automatically gets attacked. So is it possible that your body is putting H2O2 on top of an invading bacteria so that you will invade that H2O2 with a reactive oxygen species and kill the carrier? And I think that may be the case, because here, right down here, we're going to look at this in a second, weaponizing oxygen to kill infections and diseases. All right, they're looking into this right now. Okay, this is a fingertip. I know it's kind of big, but it is a fingertip. And they have blood gushing out of all over the fingertips. And this is a little anchor spot at the end in this little area here with some blood running around it. Now I'm going to put some catalase on it and see what we can stir up, so to speak. I got to pull it out of focus. Saturate that puppy down with this this is hydrogen peroxide. Now, what will happen to that? We should start seeing some glowing of the oxygen being emitted. I would have thought already by now. That's interesting. Oh, there it goes. It does take a little while. All right, we're starting to get the reaction working. Let me back it up here so we can see. Watch up in here, you're going to start seeing a lot of bubbling. I'm going to put some more on here. It fights back instantaneously, really, it wipes them right out. So you got to try to overwhelm the enzyme, which I think I have enough now to overwhelm it a little bit at least. Huh. I certainly would have expected much more reaction, but I mean, I can see it now. Huh. Interesting. Very interesting. This one over here, I think, worked out pretty good. Hold on. Hold on one second, my good friends. Hold on, hold on. Now, there was, I think I tested this one already. Let me just dry this one spot up and make sure we don't have any contamination. Alright, now, there is the spot. Now let's focus in on it. Alright, you can see how red and bloody it looks. Let me back up out of here so we can get a deeper perspective of it. Okay, you can see this rounded edge here. It's pretty obvious. Now let me see about focus. Focus, Roger, focus. Alright, now, so what do we have here? Well, it looks to me like we have a blood vessel. Let's put some hydrogen peroxide on. Now, let's see if we can see a bunch of white stuff bubbling up, which I think we will. And it should, there it is right there. It's starting to fuzz around. This right here is the layer. Watch here, because this right here is where the blood issues into it. You see the red spot here? This is like a blood vessel. There's going to be a lot of activity right there. And then all of a sudden it's going to start bubbling like crazy because it's down inside, and the gases have to go somewhere. They're going to start bubbling out of here. You watch it. All right, they have to go somewhere, so they're going to have to come up through that tube. And that tube is this red tube. Now you can see other places they're swirling around. You keep watching it, it's going to keep going, but it's so reactive that it's wiping out this hydrogen peroxide. I have to keep putting more and more in there to keep getting a good reaction. I'll watch up here again. Let me come right down on it. See that? That's where all that catalase is coming up from, that red blood vessel right there. And it feeds it right into the interstitium layer. And this right here is another layer. See this? This one here is another layer just like this. And it'll continue to bubble because it's bubbling up over here just as well. Those are bubbles too. They're just so small they don't really look like bubbles. But you see them bubbling off here? It's really starting to catalyze now. Look at it go. Let me see if I can home in on this better. No, that's pretty good. You see all these? These are just little blood cells that are bubbling off. This is the feeder. And that's why we're seeing it as it works its way down in that tube. Over here is another line of interstitium. You see it? Is the difference in that line? Here is some more right here. You see that? That's not just glow from the light. This is bubbling off right here. That's because it's a layer of interstitium. And that's your basically skin above it. And below down inside here is where your body tissue is. Now there appears to be another blood vessel right in this area somewhere. There's a lot of activity. It's all over. And that's the only reason this is bubbling out of here is because of this enzyme. And the only place the enzyme really is inside that membrane. This strappy stuff. That's your skin tissue. This is exactly what grip skin looks like. All that black and red and strappy white stuff. That's what grip skin is. And this is the bloody area that is right next to, a tendon ball or something. I'm not sure what it, well, I think this was an artery. Yes, I'm almost 100% certain this was an artery. I need to roll it away. And this is what's left of it. And once again, that's it right there. You want to see something? I'll bet you I can make that really start bubbling by adding some more to it. Well, you can see that is exactly the borderline. Exactly the borderline. Watch it. See it? It'll start bubbling. H2O2 is being attacked by the enzyme that is being created by bacteria. Now, whether it's being created right now and there's bacteria in there doing it, I don't know. But at one time or another, this particular chemistry set got locked into the blood, and that's where the blood is erupting from. I mean, I can't make it any more obvious than it is just by looking at it. There's that spot right there. You see it bubbling out. Some kind of an artery that fed this interstitial layer. This is your immune system. This is where obviously this enzyme was living, which is catalase. And I can tell you what, I'm almost 100% certain if they search for other enzymes, they're going to find them living right here. Because enzymes are the chemistry sets that keep you healthy or go out and break down food so that you can ingest it. That is exactly what you would expect to see from an interaction with blood. And that's exactly why, because it is. All right, this is Caesar Augustus, who is my goose that petrified in the mud fossil manner. It has a flat side and the other side is flawless. This is the edge of his neck that was coming down, and his throat would have come way down this way, and it broke right off here. Now, this is the arterial network that went up. I believe the vein is over here, and we might be able to get some reaction from that too. Now, if you can look, you can see his throat and everything. If you get things in the right kind of shade, sometimes you can see a much better, the articulation. Now, where are we going to see membrane layers? I don't know. There might be a ton of them. I haven't looked yet. I've looked at this, and it gushed hydrogen peroxide, oxygen bubbles out. Now, we're going to put it over here under the microscope, right there, and then we're going to put it up here and take a look at it. So get ready. All right, pay close attention to this. I am going to show you your immune system. Now, there is a layer right there, this tiny little thin layer that separates you from, which is this side, from the rest of the world, which is this side. This is an artery that runs down outside the interstitium, and I was sort of surprised at this. I would have expected it to be on the inside. Now, these are the balls and all of the straps and everything. Although when I look at my body, I can see my veins and everything are on the outside of my skin, they look like. So I have to accept this is the way they work. Now, this is the balls and straps. However, there's one tiny layer right here, and that tiny layer is the barrier between you and the rest of the world. You can see this is totally different from this, which is different from what's behind it. This is the interstitium, which is all balls and straps. This little layer, this slippery little layer, is the layer that is your immune system. Okay, get ready, here it goes. You saw what I said. There'll be a tiny little layer here, and all around here, anywhere where there's a membrane, it should get a good fuzz to it. Now, I've done this a number of times, so it may not be quite as good as it was at one time. And you can see a bunch of scratches. That's what I do. I scratch the blood out of it and so forth to look at things. Now, let's see what we see now. Watch that layer. There it is. Get ready, everybody. Let me put a little more light on Z subject. All right, you see all that foaming? You see that one little band? Like I said, I've done this probably a dozen times since I figured it out. But you can see it is that one tiny little layer. And of course, this is runoff of the catalase as well. Because outside this area is stay away, stay away, stay away, stay away, get out, get out. Somehow this oxygen is reacting with invasion, because this is hydrogen peroxide. Now, hydrogen peroxide has an extra oxygen, and metal complexes have, I believe, extra oxygens. They're highly oxidative. They come with a bunch of different plus states. But you can easily see, now let me home in on this. You see it? That's the layer right there. That is the layer. That's your immune system. Everything this side gets reacted on, nothing on that side. Let's put a little more on it just to be sure that I'm not lying. Just to check Roger out. Well, Roger is not lying. You see it? That's bubbling. There's an artery there somewhere, or a vein. But this is where enzymes reside. At least catalase does. I can tell you that right now. Now, there'll be blood in this area too, and you'll see it spark every now and then. You'll see a little blood spot. Not like this. Not like that. Watch. You see it? Now, like I said, I have done this probably a dozen times since I discovered, and this is Caesar's neck. Okay, so who do we have in the house as a betting person? I claim this is a no-toe, and it's a foot of an unknown species, similar to us, extremely similar. That right there is where the bone coming down would have locked in. This is all signature of blood. This is a seam, all right? There was a membrane right there. So according to my theory, I should be able to put hydrogen peroxide in here and see this foam up right in that seam, because everywhere it is a seam, it's a membrane. If there's a membrane, it's going to do this, because in the membranes is where the catalase is, and I expect virtually every enzyme. Let's take a look. Okay, my friends, I can guarantee you this fabric that is on this no-toe you're going to see in a second is identical to my belt. Now, what is this I'm looking at? We're looking at that right there, which is the little pinch that comes together at the no-toe. And there is literally a little tiny artery there that you can see, that little spot in the center, that little red spot. All right, this area right in here. Now, this fabric here, let me just home in on that. You see that fabric there? That's the same fabric on all of the strappy stuff. All right, it's called fascia, or in this case, it's they would call this feldspar, which is nothing more than rock, but it's not. This was a biological creature. Now, can we get this thing to foam up? I don't know. I haven't tried. So you're going to be the first one to see it. Now, mate, let's see if we can home in there. All right, here we go. This area here should have some blood. Now let me turn the lights off so that we can see it in its more magnificence. And again, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I suspect it will. Because if there was blood here, and I can tell you right now there was blood here, we should see some kind of an oxygen reaction. Because that means there'll be catalase there. Now this thing's dry as dry can get. Now let's keep an eye on it, see if you can see anything bubbling up. And it takes a minute to get it working. But I would suspect we got to see something going on in here. Oh, I can see some going on over here. Watch over here, there we go. Huh, I would have expected down where the red blood was, but I noticed that. I think it might be more reactive to Fe oxygen O3 oxygen than the O2. This is the O2, oh, I'm sorry, this is the O3. The O2, because this is what would be, I don't know, hard to say. But there is, no question, there's an oxygen reaction there. And it's hydrogen peroxide is reacting all through this membrane. This is a membrane. And you can see the separation of the tissue layers. You can see it's a membrane. See it? I just slurped some more on it. That is exactly the membrane layer there. And that is your immune system. If you can get on the other side of that, the bad guys, you're in trouble. You see? Oxygen reactive, very, and this is a no-toe. So this isn't even like a real human being or anything. I don't know what it was, but it was certainly some kind of creature. And that is certainly catalase, and that is certainly foaming. You see that? Let's see something. You can see it bubbling here and there. It's not as reactive as I would have suspected it would be. Huh. Very interesting. There's a spot right here. This is on the bottom. You see how tough and scrappy looking this is? Now this is some kind of a blood vessel. I don't know, it might be some activity coming out of this one. Let's see what we got. You would expect some reaction. I do. And I can see some already. Look at it. You see all those little white specks popping up? You see all these little white bubbles? Alright, there it is. There's your oxygen reaction, which is from catalase. Look at it up here. Wow, holy smokes. Now we got some action going on. You see up here? And this is from my Noto. Alright, there's a membrane wrapping around some form of a tendon implant right there apparently. And then you got a lot of red blood around it. The blood is oxygenating off. If you can't see that, you got trouble with understanding what you're visualizing. That thing there is gushing catalase. And again, that's my Noto. And here it is right there. That's it. Now, let's take a look at it. I won't even move it. I'll just move it around here so you know I'm not hiding something. Alright, you see the microscope. That's it right there, gushing all of that stuff out. Now, let's see. This is the bottom of the foot. These are the pads and the arch. And this is what we were looking at the top, and it didn't have much, nothing like the bottom. And originally we were looking at this cut here, which I said was a membrane, and it is, and we saw a little bit, but not like the bottom. The bottom really had something to offer. So we can see that this was biological, and it's, looks like it could have been almost human. And this right here, if you could see in the right kind of shadow, you could see that was where there was a bone. And I have I can see all the things because I've looked at them so long. I can understand them, and I can see where the calcaneus came down, and all kinds of things that most people would miss because they're not paying attention like I pay attention. All right, so. Because I've been doing this a very long time. And like I said, this is absolutely identical to my belt. I gotta show you this because it's cute. Hold on. Okay, shocker du jour. This is my Noto, which I have a lot of these. And this is the skin that coats it. It's a leather skin, just like my leather belt. Now, can I prove that? Yes, I can. It's in the microscope, and there it is right there. Now, what are we looking at, Roger? Well, I'm glad you asked. What we are looking at is a leather coating, which is right here with all the straps and balls. This is the underlayment of that leather. This comes off, I can break this off, chisel this off, and it's like a leather belt. It's almost identical to a leather belt, as you will see uno momento. Alright, so I'm claiming that is nothing more than a piece of leather on top of a basement. Now, this is nothing more than a piece of leather, genuine leather. Alright, so this was leather, and I can show you it has all of the characteristics of this and of leather. So these are the same, and this was a foot that was coated with a leather coating, which is not, it wasn't like a shoe they put on or anything. It was part of the foot. And it breaks right off here and peels right off. As I don't know if I've shown, well I did, I showed you on the microscope. That layer just peels right off. This is a basement layer. This is the layer of the same identical stuff as this. I know I showed you this, and now I'm going to show you this. Alright, you saw the coating of this, and I say that is leather, and it is leather. And it looks exactly like this, because this is leather. That is my genuine cowhide belt. And it is right up close to it now. And we can see the exact same stuff. And it has fibers in it, because it's interstitium. And can I prove the fibers? Yes, I can. Because somewhere they're here. Roger, where did you go? Yep, there they are right there. Bada boom. You see all those little fibers? Every ball has a fiber. They're anchors. That's what gives the belt stretchability, floppability, moving around in your body. And that's exactly what we saw in the notes.